The Zelthera had miscalculated. They stood in the sterile white chamber of their flagship, circling the restrained figure like predators savoring their final kill. Lyra Vale, the last daughter of Earth, hung suspended in gravitic restraints. Her body broken but her spirit still burning somewhere deep within. The aliens had hunted her across 7 star systems, through the ash fields of Mars and the frozen moons of Jupiter, until finally cornering her in the debris field where Terra once spun. Commander Zixal clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. "The final human specimen," he announced to his crew, his translator rendering the words cold and clinical. "With her genetic material, we complete our collection. The human plague is finally extinct." Lyra's chest heaved with labored breaths. Blood crusted the corner of her lips. She had fought them for 3 days straight, killed 17 of their soldiers with nothing but a plasma cutter and raw determination. But exhaustion and numbers had won in the end. "Your species was weak," Zixal continued, leaning closer to her face. "Too emotional, too irrational. You clung to concepts like hope and courage as if they were weapons." His 3-fingered hand reached toward her face. "But we've learned that human eyes hold unique neural pathways. Before we harvest the rest, we shall take these first." The surgical drone floated forward, its laser scalpels humming to life. What the Zelthera didn't know was that they were being watched. High above the flagship, camouflaged against the cosmic radiation of the nearby nebula, something ancient stirred. Dravok had been observing humanity for 3,000 years, ever since their first primitive rockets breached their atmosphere. The dragon had seen civilizations rise and fall across 100 worlds, but humans had intrigued him in ways others never had. They were so fragile yet so fierce, so short-lived yet they dreamed of eternity. And now he watched the last of them about to be extinguished. The surgical drone extended its instruments toward Lyra's right eye. She didn't scream. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. Instead, she whispered something in broken breath, words in a dead language from a dead world. "Earth remembers." The first blade touched her cornea, and Dravok moved. The space around the Zelthara flagship suddenly ignited, what they had dismissed, as background radiation peeled away like shed skin, revealing scales that had been forged in the heart of dying stars. Dravok's true form emerged, a serpentine colossus spanning 3 kilometers from snout to tail, wings that bent light itself, eyes like twin suns. The dragon's roar shattered every electromagnetic frequency the Zelthara used for communication. "You dare?" The word thundered directly into their minds, bypassing translation, understood in the primal language of pure thought. "You dare harm the last of them?" Zixal stumbled backward, his exoskeleton rattling in terror. "Impossible. The old ones are myths. Dragons don't." Dravok's claw, each talon the size of a frigate, pierced through the flagship's hull as if it were tissue paper. Atmosphere screamed out into space. Zelthera soldiers were sucked into the void, their bodies freezing instantly. The dragon's massive head pushed through the breach, one molten eye focusing on Lyra. "Forgive my tardiness, child of Earth." With surgical precision impossible for something so massive, Dravok's smallest claw severed the gravitic restraints. Lyra fell, and a cushion of force caught her gently, pulling her toward the dragon's protective embrace. "No!" Zixal screamed, raising a plasma weapon. The bolt struck Dravok's scales and dissipated like rain on an ocean. "You hunted them," Dravok growled, his voice making the ship's remaining structure groan, across their own system, through their colonies, until not one remained. "You studied them, cataloged them, and called them weak." His jaws opened, revealing flames that burned with the fury of collapsing galaxies. "But you never wondered why I watched them. Why I, who have seen empires span millennia, found these brief candles so fascinating." Lyra, cradled in energy that kept her alive despite the vacuum, watched with her still intact eyes as Dravok's judgment fell. It was because humans, in their weakness, possessed something you never could. They loved. They sacrificed. They stood defiant against extinction itself and spit in its face. The dragon's tail swept through space, obliterating 3 escort cruisers in a single motion. You thought removing her eyes would be your final victory, You didn't realize you were being weighed and measured. Please, Sixal begged. We were just following protocol. The humans were expanding. They would have reached for the stars with open hands. Dravok interrupted. You reached with closed fists. There is a difference. The flames came then. Not the flames of chemical combustion or even nuclear fusion, but cosmic fire that existed in the space between dimensions. The Zelthera flagship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, erased from reality as if it had never been. Across the system, the remaining Zelthera fleet detected the energy signature and did what they should have done from the beginning. They ran. In the silence of space, Dravok cradled Lyra against his chest, his scales cooling to provide warmth. She looked up at him with those eyes the aliens had tried to take, tears freezing on her cheeks. Why? She whispered. Why save me? I'm the last. My species is gone. The dragon's ancient eyes softened. Because, Lyra Vale, as long as one human draws breath, humanity is not extinct. It is waiting. His claw gestured to the stars. I have seen species rise from single survivors before, and none had the stubborn resilience of yours. I'm alone. No. Dravok's voice was gentle now, like distant thunder after a storm. You have me, and I know of 3 other worlds where refugees fled before the Zelthera found Earth. Scattered, hidden, but alive, waiting for someone to unite them. Hope, that most dangerous and human of emotions, flickered in Lyra's chest. And when we find them? She asked. Dravok smiled, an expression that would have been terrifying if not for the profound fondness in his eyes. Then we remind the galaxy why dragons choose to protect those who refuse to surrender. Why the last human girl, even blind and broken, would have been more dangerous than any army. He spread his wings, and reality rippled around them. Then, Lyra Vale, we teach the universe that taking the eyes of the last human was the Zelthera's greatest mistake. Because you never needed eyes to see what humans see best. What's that? Lyra asked. The future. Always the impossible, defiant future. And with a beat of cosmic wings, the dragon and the last human girl vanished into the stars, leaving behind only cooling wreckage and a legend that would be whispered across 1,000 worlds. Never harm what the dragon protects. Never extinguish the final light of those who loved too fiercely to die quietly. The Zelthera had taken her eyes, but they hadn't counted on what was watching.